The void between stars shimmered and tore like wet paper. One moment, Earth's sun hung overhead. The next, the Justice League hurtled through a rippling tunnel of blue energy, tossed as if a cosmic hand had reshuffled them like cards. When the storm of light finally spat them out, they were no longer in the familiar black velvet of space. They were above a city that gleamed like molten steel and glass, layered in 1,000 tiers, spinning with traffic from thousands of air speeders. Coruscant. No hyperspace signature registered. No warning from any known galactic navigation systems. Superman, his cape whipped in the artificial wind from their sudden arrival, scanned the city below. His solar-absorbing eyes registered sunlight from the upper stratosphere, but it was weaker, different, less vibrant than Earth's yellow sun. Already, he felt the subtle pull of diminished power, a twinge of vulnerability that made him flex instinctively. Beside him, Flash vibrated slightly, unease flickering in his superspeed perception. Guys, something's off. My connection to the Speed Force, it's like running in molasses. Batman's jaw tightened behind his cowl, his mind running scans of the surrounding satellites and orbital ships. No Imperial or Republic ships we've ever cataloged. It's new and highly populated. Keep a low profile until we understand. His voice carried calm authority, though his eyes betrayed a flicker of unease. He already calculated probabilities. The structural integrity of the city, air traffic patterns, potential ground threats, and worst-case political reactions. Wonder Woman adjusted her gauntlets, sensing something ancient and strange. I feel a great presence, but unfamiliar. There is power here, more than mere men can wield, but it is restrained, disciplined. Martian Manhunter, shifting slightly into a translucent, more humanoid form to blend into the thin atmosphere of orbit, nodded. The Force. I am reading it, an energy field connecting all life here. Not magic, not technology, but something beyond even our understanding. Below them, clones in white armor mobilized quickly, jetpacks flaring, droids swarming across the streets in the lower sectors. Energy weapons hummed in the distance. Their presence had already been detected. Superman's gut tightened. They had no time to plan a careful descent. We need a safe landing point, he said, voice resonating with authority. We can't just drop into their streets without consequences. Flash zipped briefly to a higher orbit and returned. Multiple vectors incoming, clones, patrol crafts, some kind of battle droids. They're armed and cautious, not friendly. He shook his head, slowing his molecules back to normal speed. If we land openly, we'll start a war before we even learn what's going on. Batman gestured toward the lower industrial levels of Coruscant, dark corridors beneath neon spires and bustling highways. We go there. We blend in, gather intel. Before anyone could respond, the sky above Coruscant flared with sudden light. A council ship, a Jedi vessel of elegant silver curves, shot upward, propelled by twin ion engines. From the bridge, Jedi Masters' voices transmitted across the open channel, calm but firm. Identify yourselves. State your origin and purpose. This is a Republic vessel. Non-compliance will be interpreted as hostile action. Superman floated forward slightly, hand raised in peace. We come from another world. We mean no harm. My name is Kal-El. These are my allies. We seek only understanding and a way back to our own galaxy. A moment of silence followed. Then Mace Windu's voice, calm but with undeniable authority, filtered through. A world beyond our own. This is unprecedented. Republic Command, ensure defensive measures are ready, but do not fire unless provoked. Masters, observe closely. These beings radiate power unlike anything I have sensed. Wonder Woman's gaze swept the streets below. They are wary for a reason. We must prove our intentions without escalating conflict. Superman nodded. We'll cooperate, but we're not helpless. If attacked, we will defend ourselves. In the industrial depths, the League began their descent. Batman led, using grappling hooks and stealth techniques to avoid droid patrols. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter moved as shields, scanning for civilians. Flash flickered between shadows, his speed allowing near invisibility. Superman kept watch from above, ready to intervene if necessary. Even as they touched down, the city itself seemed alive, an amalgam of mechanical hums, energy pulses, and the faint but persistent undertone of the Force threading through all things. Each League member felt it differently. Aquaman sensed a kind of planetary heartbeat in the waterways below. Wonder Woman noted the disciplined, yet complex flow of energy, as if strategy itself were embedded in the air. Batman analyzed it as an unfamiliar form of physics, to be cataloged and exploited if needed. Superman's vision picked out a cluster of Republic officials trying to organize clone units. He frowned. We can't just march down there. That would provoke immediate hostility. He turned to the group. We need dialogue. Jedi first. Convince them we aren't a threat. Before any further planning could occur, an energy pulse struck the landing platform. A warning shot, precise, non-lethal. Droids were already forming a perimeter. Flash reacted instantly, catching and disarming one with super speed. The others braced as the first clone troopers approached cautiously. One, helmet reflecting the neon glow of a city, raised a blaster. Halt. Identify yourselves. Batman stepped forward. We are not your enemies. Stay your fire. We come from another galaxy, one torn by threats you cannot imagine. We fight for justice and order, not conquest. The clones hesitated, unsure, while above, Jedi vessels hovered. Winda's voice again, observe their actions. Report any hostility. Masters, ready yourselves. A ripple of tension passed through the League. They were far from home, in an unfamiliar galaxy governed by laws they didn't yet understand. Their very presence could shift battles, alter fates, and possibly attract the attention of Sith or Separatist leaders. But the League had faced impossible odds before. They would adapt. They would survive. And they would find a way home. If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The first tentative step had been taken. The League stood on foreign soil, unknown allies and enemies watching from every direction. And somewhere in the galaxy's currents, dark eyes had already sensed the disturbance. The Jedi Council convened above the gleaming towers of Coruscant, the chamber lit with soft golden light reflecting off polished floors. Masters from across the galaxy had gathered in emergency session. Yoda's ears twitched as he listened to reports from scouts. Unusual energies, powerful. Yes. From another galaxy, perhaps. Danger this brings. Mace Windu leaned forward, his hands steepled, eyes narrowing. The arrival was sudden, and their abilities unlike anything we have sensed before. We must determine if they are friend, foe, or harbinger of worse. On the observation balcony, Master Obi-Wan Kenobi stood, arms crossed, gaze fixed on the city below. I have fought Separatists, Sith, even General Grievous, but this is different. Their power does not follow the Force. Yet I sense no malice. They act with purpose, restraint. Inside the council chamber, holographic images of the Justice League flickered. Superman, his posture calm but alert, floated near the industrial sector where the clones and droids had been cautiously monitoring. Wonder Woman's lasso of truth glimmered faintly at her hip, while Batman's calculated stance, Martian Manhunter's subtle shifts, and Flash's rapid, almost imperceptible movements suggested a unity that the Jedi could not easily categorize. Aquaman's eyes scanned water channels below, and Hal Jordan's faint green aura pulsed with willpower energy, though intermittently distorted by the pervasive Force. Yoda's voice, soft yet cutting, broke the silence. Approach with caution, we must. Knowledge of them, we seek. Allies, perhaps, or a path to darkness, yes. The council debated the first contact strategy. Jedi were peacekeepers, trained to avoid unnecessary conflict. But these were no ordinary beings. A single swing of Superman's fist could topple a tower. Flash could incapacitate entire battalions before clones could react. Their alien powers disrupted the equilibrium of the galaxy itself. Obi-Wan's argument prevailed. We must reach them through dialogue first. They have arrived not with war in their eyes, but with purpose. To strike without parley would be reckless. Meanwhile, on the streets below, the Justice League adapted quickly. Batman led them through winding industrial corridors, evading detection from droid patrols, while Flash darted ahead to scout alternative paths. Superman hovered above, keeping his senses alert to energy spikes. We need to assess the situation, he said. This city, it's governed by someone, by some system. Clone soldiers everywhere, and their weapons are different, yet familiar. Not technology as we know it, but parallel. Wonder Woman's brow furrowed as she examined the architecture. This world is fractured. Power is concentrated, yet decentralized. The presence of Jedi indicates balance, yet it is delicate. We must tread carefully. The League's first attempt at communication came when Martian Manhunter, using his telepathy sparingly to avoid overwhelming the minds of the clones, projected a simple, clear message. We are not your enemies. We seek understanding. Allow us safe passage to converse with your leaders. The clones hesitated, their programming dictating caution. One raised his blaster, unsure whether to obey protocols or respond to the unfamiliar mental intrusion. Superman landed softly beside him, hands raised. We are not here to fight. Lower your weapons. We mean no harm. From above, Jedi scouts relayed the encounter to the Council. Mace Windu's expression was inscrutable. Their abilities are beyond Jedi: physical strength, speed, strategy, even mental capacity. Observe, but do not engage unless threatened. Yet they may be the allies we never knew we needed. The League's tactical assessment continued. Batman analyzed the clone armor, weaponry, and patrol patterns, noting similarities to Earth's military equipment, but enhanced with energy systems he had never encountered. Flash, moving through shadows, discovered that the droid's central processors responded predictably, but adapted faster than Earth's machines. Wonder Woman noted the disciplined formations of the Republic's army, contrasting them with the chaos of separatist droid swarms she had glimpsed from above. Martian Manhunter confirmed that the Force, though foreign, permeated everything, somehow giving life to the machines and humans alike, connecting their actions in subtle ways. As the Justice League debated next steps, a Republic vessel landed nearby, escorted by Jedi, shimmering in polished metal with soft hums of hyperdrive energy. Obi-Wan emerged, hand raised. We wish to parley. Let us understand each other before conflicts arise. Superman stepped forward. We accept. But we must be direct. Our presence is not accidental. We were pulled through a rift during battle in our galaxy. We do not seek conquest. Our mission is to find a way back home, but we cannot ignore the injustices we encounter. The Jedi considered this. Qui-Gon Jinn, though absent physically, was remembered in the teachings of his disciples. Sometimes the path to understanding required observation before judgment. The Force will guide our interactions, Windu said. Approach them. Offer guidance, but prepare for the unexpected. Thus began the first formal encounter. Jedi Masters descended to meet the Justice League at the edge of the industrial sector. Tension was palpable, yet there was curiosity in their movements. Superman inclined his head, and Wonder Woman subtly adjusted her stance. Lasso of truth coiled, but not threatening. Batman's eyes scanned the surroundings, calculating escape routes and potential traps. Martian Manhunter's form shifted slightly, appearing less alien to the Jedi, while retaining subtle hints of Martian physiology. Peace, Mace Windu intoned. We are the Jedi. You arrive unexpectedly. Tell us, who are you, and why have you come to our galaxy? Superman answered first, his voice deep, carrying the weight of authority and sincerity. I am Kal-El, known as Superman on my home planet. These are my allies: Wonder Woman, Batman, Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. We were pulled into your galaxy by forces beyond our understanding. We wish only to return home, but we will act to protect life wherever we find injustice. Yoda's gaze was sharp, assessing their every movement, listening not only to words, but to intent. Strong in purpose, you are. But disrupt the balance, even unknowingly, you may. Learn you must before act you do. Superman nodded. We understand. We will follow your guidance while we learn your ways. But understand this, we do not abandon lives in need, even if they exist in another galaxy. The council exchanged looks, a mixture of awe and apprehension. Jedi were accustomed to navigating threats and interpreting the Force, yet these newcomers represented forces outside even their extensive knowledge. The risk was enormous. Intervening could shift the balance of the Clone Wars, yet ignoring them might forfeit an opportunity for a powerful alliance. As night fell over Coruscant, the Justice League prepared for a cautious day. They would observe the galaxy, learn its rules, and establish trust with the Jedi. Meanwhile, Hidden Eyes, both Sith and Separatist, had begun to sense these anomalies, plotting silently in the shadows, intrigued and threatened by the arrival of beings whose powers could alter the fate of countless star systems. For the League, the first day in this galaxy ended not with victory or defeat, but with the uneasy knowledge that they had stepped into a war far larger than any they had faced, where every action would ripple unpredictably through the lives of millions. The morning sun of Coruscant's upper levels glinted off skyscrapers and transit lanes, but down in the industrial depths, where the Justice League had taken temporary refuge, shadows stretched long and mechanical hums echoed ominously. Superman hovered just above the rooftops, scanning the maze of streets and maintenance tunnels. We need more information about the Republic forces and Separatist activities, he said, voice low but authoritative. We can't act blindly. Any misstep could spark a full-scale confrontation before we even understand the stakes. Batman's eyes glinted behind his cowl, analyzing movement patterns. The clone patrols are organized but predictable. Their AI and battle protocols are rigid. Droids, on the other hand, adapt faster than any Earth-based robotics. We need real-time reconnaissance to anticipate threats and avoid unnecessary engagement. He gestured toward the lower tunnels. Flash, you're our eyes. Move fast, avoid detection, and map everything. Within seconds, Flash blurred into motion. His body vibrated as he raced through narrow alleys, slipping past droid sentries and bypassing security checkpoints. He returned within a few heartbeats, data spilling from his mind to Batman's portable console. They're not just patrolling, he said, panting slightly from the effort of rapid observation. They're coordinating with something bigger, swarms of droids heading toward the lower sectors, and clone units ready to mobilize in case of a threat. But there's something odd. The Force. I can feel it tugging on my speed somehow, like an invisible drag. Wonder Woman nodded. It is subtle but persistent. This force binds them, guides them, gives purpose beyond strategy. It will affect all of your abilities if you are not cautious. Superman's eyes narrowed. Then we must tread carefully. No unnecessary demonstrations of power. We don't know how the Jedi or the clones will react to direct interference, even if we intend to help. Before the League could decide their next move, a sudden explosion shook the industrial corridor, sending sparks and twisted metal raining down. A Separatist probe droid camouflaged within the shadows had been observing them, and its detection beam had triggered an automated defense turret. Batman was already pulling civilians out of the way, Wonder Woman deflecting the shards with her bracelets, and Martian Manhunter phasing through walls to shield the unarmed workers nearby. Too close, Superman muttered, intercepting another volley of energy bolts midair. His fists crushed the turret, leaving a smoking wreck. We need to find the source and neutralize it before more units arrive. The League quickly traced the attack to a hidden droid control hub. Inside, a horde of reconnaissance droids relayed signals to the Separatist network. Hal Jordan's ring flared with green energy. I can shut them down temporarily, but the Force is interfering with the constructs. They flicker, fade, and resist manipulation. Batman's brow furrowed. It's the environment. The pervasive energy field of the Force is countering your constructs. You can still act, but don't rely on perfect precision. Wonder Woman approached cautiously. We must move with strategy, not brute force. This is not merely a military challenge. The political consequences of our actions will echo throughout this galaxy. As they disable the hub, clones arrived in formation, blasters raised, but non-lethal settings engaged. A young clone sergeant stepped forward, scanning the League carefully. Who are you? State your allegiance. Are you part of the Separatist infiltration? Superman raised his hands. We are not your enemies. We are from another galaxy, brought here by forces beyond our control. Our only goal is understanding and, if possible, to return home. The clone hesitated, unsure whether to obey the strictures of programming or trust the overwhelming display of power and honesty before him. Finally, he spoke into his comms. Master Jedi, we have an unusual presence. They claim no allegiance to the Separatists. Moments later, a Jedi Knight arrived. Shakti, moving gracefully with blade sheathed, her presence commanding yet serene. She extended a hand, acknowledging Superman's gesture. I am Shakti. You speak of another galaxy, of beings unlike any we have sensed. You have demonstrated restraint. That counts in your favor. But be warned, one misstep, and the Republic may view you as a threat. Martian Manhunter inclined his head, speaking carefully. We seek not conflict, only understanding. We wish to cooperate with your council and avoid endangering anyone. The Jedi's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing both honesty and the raw, alien power that radiated from the League. The Force touches all living things. Yet your powers are not of the Force. This is unprecedented. The Council will need to decide how to proceed. While dialogue unfolded, distant sounds of battle reached their ears. Separatist droid patrols clashing with Republic forces. The Clone Wars raged on hundreds of systems away, and the League's presence was beginning to ripple through both sides. Flash's perception of time accelerated further, allowing him to catch glimpses of distant engagements. Every action here could tip the balance, he warned. Even our interference to save lives could escalate battles across the galaxy. Batman's mind raced, calculating outcomes and contingencies. We're at a crossroads. If we engage openly, we risk becoming the ultimate weapon for one side or the other. If we remain hidden, countless innocents may suffer. Every choice carries moral weight. Suddenly, an alert from above drew Superman's gaze skyward. A Separatist reconnaissance vessel, sleek and angular, had detected unusual energy signatures and was moving rapidly toward the industrial sector. Its sensors were picking up Superman, Hal Jordan, and even the faint aura of Wonder Woman's divine power. Superman's expression hardened. They've noticed us. This cannot remain covert much longer. We may need to show them we're not a threat or prepare to defend ourselves if provoked. Wonder Woman unsheathed her sword, the metal blade gleaming in the dim light. We must strike only to protect, never to dominate. This galaxy has its own laws, its own rules of engagement. We must respect them. Martian Manhunter's eyes glowed softly. They will test us, probe our limits. Our abilities, though extraordinary, are foreign here. We must adapt to survive. As the Separatist vessel descended, clones and droids converged on the area, unsure whether to engage, investigate, or retreat. Shakti raised her hand, signaling calm, yet her eyes betrayed concern. The Jedi could sense the potential for catastrophe should the League's involvement escalate prematurely. Superman hovered above the battle, scanning the vessel and its deployable droids. We need to neutralize them without causing casualties. Show restraint. Make a statement that we are not enemies, but we will defend life. Hal Jordan's ring glimmered, constructs forming a temporary barrier between the League and incoming droids. Flash zipped forward, intercepting patrol units before they could engage fully. Wonder Woman moved with precision, deflecting blasts and incapacitating droids without lethal force. Batman coordinated movements, issuing tactical orders while remaining unseen by the clones' visual sensors. As the first volleys of energy bolts collided with their defenses, Martian Manhunter phased through walls, striking key control panels to disable automated systems. In moments, the immediate threat was mitigated, though the galaxy itself seemed to pulse in response, as if aware that beings unlike any it had known were now walking among its citizens. Shock Ti's voice carried above the din. You have shown restraint and skill. But the council must meet. You will come with us to the Jedi Temple for further discussion. Superman nodded. We will cooperate. But understand this. Our goal remains to return home, and we will act to protect the innocent while here. We cannot abandon those in peril, even in a galaxy not our own. The Jedi guided the League to a waiting vessel, clones forming a respectful perimeter. Above them, Coruscant continued its ceaseless pulse, unaware that forces from another universe were now stepping cautiously into the heart of the Clone Wars, poised to influence events in ways that could alter the fate of countless systems. Every League member understood the stakes. One misjudged action could ignite full-scale conflict. Yet they also understood their responsibility. They were not mere visitors. They were guardians of life, in a galaxy that had never known beings like them before. The Jedi Temple's great halls rose above the lower levels of Coruscant like a beacon of serenity and authority. Massive crystal windows cast shafts of sunlight across polished floors, and the air carried the subtle hum of the Force resonating through the building's foundations. The Justice League followed Shock T through corridors lined with statues of past Jedi Masters, each carved with reverence and precision. Every step echoed in the cavernous space, a reminder that they were far from Earth, in a galaxy where power was measured differently. Superman walked slightly ahead, vigilant as always. Keep scanning. We don't know the full extent of this galaxy's politics yet. His eyes flickered, adjusting to detect any hidden threats. Flash, walking beside him, whispered under his breath, I feel like we just stepped into a chessboard, and the pieces already know how to move before we do. Batman's eyes swept the corridors, mapping security routes, emergency exits, and strategic vantage points. That's not far from a truth, he said grimly. Every Jedi here is a tactical operator. Their perception of the Force allows them to predict actions. Even we can't assume surprise will work indefinitely. As they entered the main council chamber, the Justice League was met by the Jedi Council in full. Yoda perched on his dais, ears twitching, while Mace Windu and Kit Fisto exchanged quiet murmurs, assessing these intergalactic visitors. Shock T introduced each League member in turn, noting their abilities, yet careful not to overemphasize threat potential. Yoda's small voice broke the silence. Power, you have. Beyond understanding, it is. But balance you must seek. Intervene you will careful you must be. Superman nodded respectfully. We understand. We only act to protect lives. We do not seek conflict or dominance. The council deliberated. Obi-Wan Kenobi's voice cut through the formalities. Their arrival coincides with a troubling rise in separatist activity in several key sectors. Their abilities could tip the balance of battles that are already teetering on catastrophe. Yet to intervene without guidance risks creating chaos. Mace Windu's tone was firmer. We cannot ignore them, but we cannot allow unilateral action either. If we guide them, their power becomes an asset, not a threat. But the temptation to use it recklessly is undeniable. Green Lantern stepped forward, the ring glimmering faintly despite occasional interference from the pervasive Force energy. We're not looking to dominate or disrupt your galaxy, Hal said firmly. We want to understand, to work within the systems here, and to find a way back to our universe. But we won't stand idly by if lives are threatened. The discussion turned toward strategic considerations. The Jedi were concerned about the impact on the Clone Wars. A single display of Superman's strength could obliterate entire battle lines. Flash could disarm entire squads before anyone realized what happened. Wonder Woman's combat skill could shift engagements on a planetary scale. Even Batman's tactical mind and Green Lantern's constructs could alter conflicts in unpredictable ways. Yoda interjected. Teach we must. Guide we will. Temptation. There is. Power to change events before they occur. Temptation. Resist they must. Superman's jaw tightened. We've faced temptations to act on power before. But we know restraint is part of justice. Wonder Woman nodded, the lasso of truth coiled at her side. Restraint is our strength. In this galaxy, it will be tested more than ever. The Jedi proposed a phased approach. First, observation. League members would accompany reconnaissance missions, assess separatist movements, and provide aid where strictly necessary. Second, controlled intervention. Their abilities could be used to protect civilians or prevent catastrophic losses, but not to outright dictate military outcomes. Third, political guidance. They would be briefed on Republic hierarchies, clone loyalty, and separatist strategies to ensure informed action. Martian Manhunter, speaking telepathically to Shaak Ti in low tones to avoid disturbing others, express concern. Even with restraint, their presence may attract Sith attention. Palpatine's manipulation is subtle, patient. They may see the League as pawns or threats. Shaak Ti nodded gravely. This is true. The dark side will test them, and indirectly, all of us. Awareness, constant vigilance, will be required. Before the League could respond further, an urgent alert interrupted the session. A separatist strike force had engaged Republic units near the Midrim, targeting strategic supply depots and civilian sectors simultaneously. The Jedi Council turned to the Justice League. Your skills will be tested, Mace Windu said. You will accompany a small contingent to prevent loss of life. Strike only when absolutely necessary. Superman exhaled slowly, eyes narrowing as he scanned the cityscape through the council chamber's panoramic view. Understood. But know this. If innocents are in immediate danger, we cannot stand aside. The League quickly mobilized, equipped with Jedi navigational assistance, guided by Shaak Ti and accompanied by a mix of clone units and Jedi Knights. Flash zipped ahead to map the separatist forces in real time. Batman coordinated strategy, distributing reconnaissance data to the team and clone officers. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter focused on civilian evacuation, ensuring the population would not be harmed. Hal Jordan created temporary energy barriers to redirect incoming droid fire, while Superman intercepted distant artillery before it could strike populated sectors. As they engaged in controlled conflict, it became clear that their presence was already reshaping the battlefield. Separatist leaders, sensing unfamiliar abilities, began deploying new strategies, focusing on reconnaissance and subtle manipulation rather than direct assault. Clone commanders were both cautious and awed, unsure whether to treat the League as allies, anomalies, or threats. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Count Dooku sensed unusual energy signatures, power unlike anything he had encountered outside of Force-sensitive beings. Palpatine, ever patient, observed reports with subtle satisfaction. Intriguing, he murmured. They are not Jedi, not Sith. Yet their arrival will disrupt everything. Bring them closer. Let the game begin. The stage was set. The Justice League, powerful yet constrained, walked the line between intervention and observation. Every decision would carry consequences, ethical, tactical, and galactic. And unknown to them, forces both light and dark had already begun to maneuver in response to their unprecedented arrival. The first true test of the League's abilities and their moral compass was about to unfold in the Clone Wars. The League's first field mission began before dawn. A Republic transport convoy was under attack in a mid-rim system. Civilian settlers trapped between separatist droid forces and clone reinforcements arriving too slowly to prevent disaster. Shaak Ti briefed the League in a holographic map chamber aboard a frigate hovering above the planet. The terrain was a mix of rocky canyons and sprawling settlements, perfect for droid ambushes and guerrilla maneuvers. Superman surveyed the map with narrowed eyes. We can reach the civilian settlements faster than any clone or transport. But we have to avoid making it look like we're dictating the battle. The Republic must retain agency. Batman's voice was calm, analytical. We'll need to split tasks. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter focus on evacuating civilians. Flash and Hal create safe corridors and suppress droid units. Superman handles heavy opposition. I'll coordinate strategy and anticipate separatist maneuvers. As the League deployed, their presence immediately disrupted separatist calculations. Droids attempted coordinated ambushes, But Flash's super speed dismantled sentries before they could sound alarms. Green Lantern formed shimmering energy corridors, guiding fleeing settlers to safety while blocking droid fire. Superman flew ahead, using precision strikes to disable large battle units without destroying the landscape or structures. A controlled show of power that impressed clone commanders observing the engagement. Wonder Woman moved with lethal grace, disarming droids and deflecting blaster bolts with her bracelets. Her sword glimmered under the twin suns, slicing through mechanical opponents while shielding civilians. Martian Manhunter phased through walls and terrain, rescuing settlers trapped in crumbling buildings. His alien physiology allowed him to survive extreme temperatures and impacts, making him uniquely suited to navigating disaster zones. But the first moral dilemma emerged when the League discovered separatist forces holding a civilian family hostage on a cliffside, their lives contingent on Republic troops standing down. Superman froze mid-flight, considering his options. Intervention would save the family, but could tip the battle unfairly, allowing the separatists to adjust their strategy elsewhere. Wonder Woman's voice cut through his hesitation. We cannot let innocents die, even if the consequences ripple beyond this engagement. That is our principle. With coordinated precision, Hal Jordan created a protective energy bubble around the hostages. Flash zipped in to disarm the droids, while Superman cleared the immediate threat. The civilians were safe, but the move forced separatist commanders to alter their tactics, sending reinforcements toward unprotected sectors. The League had intervened, but even their restraint caused chain reactions. Batman, observing from the ridge above, assessed the consequences. Every action here has ripple effects. They'll recalibrate. We've disrupted their expectations, yes, but we've also made ourselves a target. We're not invisible anymore. As the engagement unfolded, Jedi observers monitored the League's actions closely. Shakti whispered to clone commanders, "Notice their restraint. Unlike other power users, they do not kill unnecessarily. Yet their strength forces us to reconsider tactics. This is unprecedented. Adapt or be overwhelmed." The battle escalated when Count Dooku, sensing the unusual power signatures, dispatched a small contingent of skilled separatist operatives and dark side adepts to test the newcomers. Their approach was subtle, not overtly aggressive, allowing them to gauge the League's response. Martian Manhunter sensed the mental probing almost immediately. They're testing us. Telepathic probes, tactical analysis, classic dark side influence. He signaled the others. Expect manipulation. Act deliberately. Superman's eyes narrowed. We can't be baited into overreaction. Protect the civilians, neutralize threats. Avoid unnecessary escalation. Focus on the mission. The League moved with synchronized precision. Flash zipped between units, disarming and relocating droid squads. Wonder Woman blocked and redirected energy blasts, ensuring civilian safety. Green Lantern formed barriers to redirect enemy fire, while providing protective coverage for Superman as he took down the heaviest opposition. Batman orchestrated movements with military precision, calling out strategic instructions that anticipated enemy maneuvers and protected the Republic troops. Even with restraint, the battle left an impression. Clone officers and Jedi alike realized that the Justice League operated at a level far beyond any known ally. Yet their principles, avoiding lethal force when possible, prioritizing innocent lives, earned cautious respect. The true turning point came when a separatist saboteur attempted to destroy a civilian energy plant, knowing it would cripple the planet's infrastructure and force evacuations. Flash arrived in time to disable the charges. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter guided civilians out of the blast radius. Superman intercepted a collapsing support beam that would have crushed hundreds. Hal Jordan's ring stabilized surrounding structures with temporary energy constructs. After the last civilian was safe, Batman analyzed the engagement. We acted decisively, but within limits. Our presence altered the battlefield, yes, but with careful control, we minimized unnecessary casualties. The Separatists will adapt, and so must we. This is the ongoing game. Shakti approached the League afterward, her tone measured but impressed. You have saved lives and yet maintained restraint. That is a rare combination. But be warned, your presence is now known. The dark side will see you as a threat or a tool. Count Dooku will observe and learn. Palpatine will wait. This galaxy is watching. Superman exhaled slowly, eyes scanning the horizon. We knew our presence would have consequences. But our mission is unchanged. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. That has not and will not change. For the Justice League, the Clone Wars were no longer abstract news reports or distant conflicts. They were tangible, immediate, and morally complex. Every life saved carried weight. Every action provoked reactions from hidden enemies, and every display of power had unintended consequences. The first battle had ended, but the war, and the ethical challenges it presented, was just beginning. The aftermath of their first engagement rippled through the mid-rim systems like a shockwave. Reports of a small, superpowered contingent aiding Republic forces reached both the Jedi Council and the Separatist leadership. Clone commanders debated how to integrate or control these extraordinary beings, while Separatist spies began speculating. Were these new allies a threat, an opportunity, or something in between? Back on Coruscant, the Justice League convened in a secluded observation chamber provided by Shakti. The room overlooked the lower city tiers, the hum of urban life and the distant clash of blaster fire, creating a constant reminder of the galaxy's volatility. We made an impact, but it wasn't clean, Batman noted, pulling up tactical schematics on a holomap. The Separatists are adjusting. They'll exploit our patterns if we're predictable. Superman exhaled slowly, his fists clenched. We saved lives. That was the priority. Strategy comes second. We cannot compromise our moral code just to optimize battlefield efficiency. Wonder Woman, her lasso of truth resting coiled at her hip, added, but every life we save creates ripple effects. Separatist commanders will anticipate our movements. We must adapt constantly. Their strategies evolve, just as ours must. Hal Jordan, floating midair, projected temporary constructs of potential battlefields. I can create shields, barriers, even temporary evacuations. But the Force is interfering. It's subtle, but it's there. My constructs flicker when the energy is strong, and it's strongest near Jedi or Sith presence. I can compensate, but it's not perfect. Martian Manhunter nodded, shifting slightly. The Force is not inherently hostile, but it affects how your abilities function. Speed, energy projection, perception, they all fluctuate depending on local concentrations of the Force. Batman's eyes narrowed, studying patterns of Separatist movements overlaid with Force intensity maps. We have to operate strategically, yes, but also unpredictably. If the enemy adapts to our capabilities too quickly, our advantage erodes. And we can't underestimate moral dilemmas. They'll test us. Indeed, their next mission presented one immediately. A Separatist strike team had taken control of a civilian energy plant, threatening to collapse it to pressure Republic forces into surrender. Clone units were poised to assault, but risked massive civilian casualties. The League's involvement could prevent loss of life, yet the scale of intervention was ethically complex. Superman hovered above the plant, eyes scanning the perimeter. We have to stop them, but we can't just destroy the facility. It will hurt the very people we're trying to protect. Wonder Woman nodded. Non-lethal methods, coordinated precision, minimal disruption. That's the only way. Flash zipped ahead, disabling perimeter droid sensors and intercepting patrol units with non-lethal force. Hal Jordan erected temporary energy constructs to redirect energy blasts and shield civilians in real time. Martian Manhunter phased through walls to evacuate trapped workers. Superman used precise heat vision to sever mechanical reinforcements without damaging the structure. Wonder Woman disarmed hostile droids, deflecting blaster bolts and neutralizing threats without killing. Meanwhile, a Separatist commander attempted to lure the League into overreaction, threatening hostages in an adjacent sector. Batman, observing remotely via drone and holomap, calculated a solution. We can't risk lives, but we can outmaneuver them. Flash, you create an illusionary path. Hal, extend shielding. Wonder Woman and Superman intercept threats along the real route. The plan worked. Civilians were rescued, the droid force neutralized, and the Separatist trap collapsed harmlessly. Clone commanders, observing from a safe distance, were simultaneously impressed and wary. Jedi, including Shaak-Ti, recognized the League's effectiveness, but noted the subtle interference of the Force, altering predictable outcomes. Yet the moral and strategic implications weighed heavily. Every intervention, though justified, shifted balance. Separatists adapted. Clones hesitated to follow League directives without consultation, and Jedi sensed the galaxy itself reacting to these anomalies. In debriefing with Shaak-Ti, Superman asked, "Do we risk too much by intervening? Every action has unintended consequences." Shaak-Ti's voice was calm but firm. "Power alone does not grant wisdom. Your actions have saved lives, yes, but the Force responds to every disturbance. Be mindful. Restraint will be your greatest asset." Batman added, "And yet inaction can be catastrophic. Our challenge isn't just raw power. It's deciding when and how to act. Every choice has consequences." Martian Manhunter's expression was solemn. "The galaxy tests us in ways Earth never could. Ethics, strategy, adaptation, all will be constant. We are powerful, but far from omnipotent here." Even as the League absorbed these lessons, distant Sith operatives had begun tracking the anomalies. Count Dooku, intrigued and cautious, sent scouts to observe the League, noting their tactical ingenuity and moral restraint. Palpatine, watching from the shadows of the Senate chambers, smirked. Such power, restrained by conscience, how deliciously inconvenient. The first wave of moral and strategic challenges had passed. The Justice League had learned that in this galaxy, intervention was never simple, power was never absolute, and every choice carried consequences far beyond the immediate battle. They were no longer just visitors, they were actors in a galaxy-wide chessboard, where every piece moved with intent, and every decision could tip the scales. Weeks passed, and the Justice League had begun to acclimate to the galaxy's complex web of politics, warfare, and the pervasive influence of the Force. Each member felt the subtle pull of this new universe, not as corruption necessarily, but as a constant reminder that even their extraordinary abilities were not entirely free from consequence here. Superman's heat vision burned differently under the twin suns of mid-rim worlds, requiring adjustments to avoid overheating or accidental structural damage. Flash's superspeed occasionally faltered when passing through zones of concentrated midichlorians, slowing him just enough to be perceptible and forcing him to anticipate interference. Hal Jordan's ring constructs, while formidable, flickered and shimmered when near Jedi or Sith, struggling to maintain perfect structural integrity. Even Batman, whose mind had no inherent vulnerabilities to alien forces, recognized that strategy had to account for opponents capable of sensing thoughts and predicting outcomes through the Force. The Justice League gathered aboard a Republic frigate in orbit over a volatile mid-rim system. The ship was modest compared to Earth technology, but advanced in ways that fascinated Batman. Faster-than-light navigation was precise yet delicately balanced. Droid co-pilots interfaced directly with the Force-sensitive systems, and energy weapons had tactical versatility he had never encountered. Shaak-Ti briefed them from the tactical holomap chamber, her presence calm and deliberate. "Our intelligence indicates a Separatist supply route here," Shaak-Ti explained, gesturing to a dense asteroid belt interspersed with mining colonies and energy depots. "They aim to disrupt a neutral mid-rim world, both to seize resources and force political leverage. The Republic forces are stretched thin. They require assistance, but only as observers and protectors. Your presence must not dictate battle outcomes. This is crucial." Superman studied the holographic display, his eyes scanning terrain features, Separatist droid patrol paths, and civilian sectors. "We can reach the colonies faster than any clone or transport, but subtlety is key. We cannot intervene in a way that compromises the Republic's command structure or the civilians' autonomy." Batman leaned over, mapping predicted Separatist movement using both Republic intelligence and his own pattern recognition algorithms. "We'll need to split tasks," he said. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter evacuate civilians and protect critical infrastructure. Flash and Hal create safe corridors and disable droids in real time. Superman handles heavy opposition while minimizing structural damage. I'll coordinate movements and anticipate enemy maneuvers. Timing is everything. Any misstep can cascade into civilian casualties or political fallout. Wonder Woman's voice was measured, full of authority tempered with diplomacy. "We must act with precision. Every strike, every movement must protect life first. The Force and the Jedi will watch closely. We cannot allow recklessness to undermine trust." Martian Manhunter's alien eyes scanned the map, detecting subtle psychic traces that indicated separatist planning and coordination. They anticipate conventional tactics. They will probe our weaknesses. Mental discipline is essential. Any lapse could lead to catastrophic consequences, not just physically, but politically. Flash, bouncing on the balls of his feet, grinned nervously. "I can handle rapid deployments, but I can feel the Force tugging at my perception again. Certain areas distort my speed. It's like running through thick molasses that only I can see. I'll have to adjust constantly." Hal Jordan adjusted the constructs of his ring, projecting a series of translucent green shields and bridges across volcanic fissures and collapsing bridges. "I'll stabilize terrain, but it's going to flicker when Force concentrations spike. Near Jedi or Sith, I have to maintain constant focus to keep barriers from failing." Even Batman, the tactician, recognized the added complexity. "We're operating on multiple fronts: moral judgment, battlefield control, and environmental adaptation. The Separatists are clever, but they do not understand us. We must exploit that carefully without overreaching." The mission began under the dim glow of a twin sunrise, the landscape bathed in molten orange light. Volcanic rivers cut through jagged rock, their heat radiating unpredictably into the air. Smoke plumes from distant fires obscured vision, while Separatist sentry droids moved in synchronized patrols. Flash zipped forward first, moving like a green blur over the fissures and through tunnels, mapping enemy positions and noting the Force's subtle interference on perception. Hal Jordan floated alongside, constructing energy bridges over collapsing lava flows and projecting shields over civilian clusters. The shimmering constructs distorted when passing through pockets of dense Force energy, forcing Hal to adjust continuously. "It's like trying to build a sand castle during a hurricane," he muttered, concentration etched on his face. Superman moved next, using controlled bursts of heat vision to sever mechanical reinforcements and redirect energy weapons into harmless terrain. The blast precision was critical. Even slight miscalculations could vaporize entire buildings or destabilize the delicate ecosystem. Wonder Woman led the ground assault, blocking energy bolts with her bracelets, while disarming and disabling droids with precise strikes. Martian Manhunter phased through walls to evacuate civilians trapped in crumbling structures. His alien physiology allowed him to withstand extreme heat, toxic gases, and concussive forces that would incapacitate humans or clones. The Separatists, recognizing that their conventional tactics were failing, dispatched a small contingent of elite dark side adepts alongside standard battle droids. The adepts wielded subtle Force manipulations, telekinetic pushes, psychic disorientation, and dark energy pulses intended to disorient and destabilize the League. Martian Manhunter intercepted psychic attacks on civilian groups, while Wonder Woman deflected energy strikes and immobilized attacking droids with precision. Batman, observing from a ridge above via drones, identified a critical tactical dilemma. A Separatist squad was attempting to leverage unstable volcanic terrain to collapse a settlement. Acting would prevent civilian deaths, but expose the League's full capabilities to the enemy. After rapid calculation, he issued precise orders. Flash, create an illusionary path. Hal, reinforce the energy shields along this corridor. Superman and Wonder Woman, intercept the collapsing ridge. Martian Manhunter, evacuate civilians in the immediate danger zone. The plan unfolded perfectly, demonstrating the League's coordination, adaptability, and ability to anticipate both physical and moral complications. Civilians were rescued, the droid squad neutralized, and the Sith adept was temporarily repelled. Clone officers, observing from the periphery, whispered in awe and confusion. The League's capabilities were far beyond what any unit had encountered, yet they operated with discernible restraint. Jedi monitors, including Shaak Ti, noted the effectiveness, but were wary of the long-term consequences. Yet the mission was not without tension. One civilian structure, a community energy plant, was at risk of total collapse due to seismic instability. Superman flew to stabilize it, but doing so drew concentrated fire from separatist droids, forcing Flash and Hal to reinforce defensive measures. Wonder Woman engaged directly with the dark side adept, whose energy pulses threatened to destabilize the very volcanic terrain. The duel was a delicate dance of power and precision. Each strike countered not only attacks, but potential structural damage that could endanger thousands. During a brief lull, Martian Manhunter telepathically communicated to Batman, highlighting a latent danger. They are probing our limits, seeking patterns. The Sith are not just testing strength, they are studying our decision-making and moral codes. Every choice is data to them. Batman's response was grim. Then we have to be unpredictable, yet ethical. Every action must protect life, but also preserve strategic advantage. They will adapt, but we must stay 3 moves ahead. As the mission concluded, the League had saved hundreds of lives, neutralized multiple droid units, and forced the Sith adept to retreat. However, the political and ethical ramifications were immediate. Clone commanders approached the League cautiously, uncertain whether to follow orders autonomously or defer to the League's superior judgment. Jedi sensed the subtle interference of the Force in each tactical decision, debating whether the League's presence enhanced or destabilized balance. Shaak Ti debriefed the League aboard the cruiser, her tone measured but impressed. You have demonstrated both restraint and competence. Your actions have saved lives, but the galaxy will not forget your presence. Count Dooku has likely taken note. Palpatine will observe from the shadows. Your influence is undeniable. Superman's expression was resolute. We accept that responsibility. Our mission is to protect the innocent wherever possible, regardless of consequences. That will not change. Wonder Woman added, we will continue to learn. This galaxy operates under different rules, with forces we cannot fully control. Adaptation is essential not just for survival, but for impact that aligns with our principles. Martian Manhunter interjected with a cautionary note. The Separatists will not forget today. The Sith will test our resolve further. We must anticipate challenges that extend beyond conventional battlefields, political, ethical, and metaphysical. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Count Dooku analyzed reports of the League's interventions. Impressive, he murmured, scanning holographic projections of the battles. But power restrained by morality is a weakness waiting to be exploited. They are unlike Jedi or Sith, and that makes them unpredictable. Interesting, very interesting. Palpatine, seated within the shadows of the Galactic Senate, watched the same reports with a sly, calculating grin. Such power, yet constrained by conscience, how deliciously inconvenient. Let them act, and I will prepare the board. The game is only beginning. For the Justice League, the Clone Wars had become more than a battlefield. It was a labyrinth of strategy, ethics, and diplomacy, where every action carried weight, and restraint could be just as powerful as raw strength. Every victory was measured not only in lives saved, but in the ripples of consequence that would follow across countless systems. Every choice required consideration of ethics, tactical outcomes, and the invisible hand of the Force. They were no longer merely visitors. They had become actors in a galaxy-wide chessboard, where every piece moved with intent, and every decision could tip the scales of war, morality, and power. And looming in the distance, unseen by the League, the shadows of the Sith stirred, already plotting the next test. In this galaxy, even beings of unimaginable strength discovered the truth. Power alone was not enough. Adaptation, restraint, and ethical clarity would define not only survival, but the legacy they would leave in the Clone Wars. The galaxy had begun to whisper about the strange newcomers, beings of extraordinary power who did not bend to the Force, but could nonetheless act in harmony with it. The Justice League had already demonstrated their capacity to save lives, neutralize droids, and counter dark side influence. Yet the full ramifications of their presence were only just beginning to take shape. Clone commanders debated whether to treat them as partners or anomalies. Jedi discussed the ethical and metaphysical implications, and somewhere deep in the shadows, Count Dooku and his agents plotted observation and subtle manipulation. The next mission was far more complex. A separatist task force had taken control of a strategically vital orbital station orbiting a mid-rim planet rich in natural resources essential to Republic infrastructure. Unlike prior engagements, this situation demanded a combination of tactical precision, moral judgment, and political savvy. The League could not simply destroy the station. Civilian engineers and neutral traders were trapped inside. Moreover, the Separatists were rumored to have allied with a rogue faction of dark side acolytes, complicating the Force landscape. Shaak Ti briefed the League aboard a Republic Star destroyer stationed in orbit. The holographic display showed multiple docking bays, environmental control towers, and civilian habitation zones. The Separatists are well fortified, Shaak Ti explained. They have occupied docking bays, installed defense turrets, and are likely holding civilians as leverage. Force-sensitive operatives are assisting them, creating unpredictable energy fluctuations. Any reckless use of power could destabilize the station. Superman examined the map, his eyes narrowing. We'll need to neutralize defenses without damaging the infrastructure. Civilian lives come first. Full frontal assault is not an option. Batman studied the tactical layout. We'll need multiple teams. I'll coordinate remotely, predicting enemy maneuvers. Flash will move through maintenance tunnels and ventilation shafts for rapid interception. Hal can erect energy barriers to protect civilians and control enemy movement. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter will secure internal zones and contain dark side threats. Superman handles heavy-duty external breaches. The League approached the orbital station under stealth, avoiding detection by patrol droids and sensor arrays. Flash zipped along maintenance conduits, mapping droid patrol patterns and noting areas where Force interference distorted motion. Hal projected temporary green constructs along critical corridors, reinforcing structural integrity and shielding civilians from energy blasts. Superman approached docking bays, using controlled heat vision to sever locks without triggering explosions, while Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter prepared for direct engagement. The first moral dilemma arose almost immediately. A Separatist squad had taken over a civilian hydroponics bay, threatening to flood the area and drown hundreds if Republic forces did not retreat. Superman could have easily neutralized the threat with sheer strength, but doing so risked collateral damage to civilians and the delicate hydroponic systems. Wonder Woman's voice cut through the tense air. We cannot allow innocents to die. Precision over power. Superman nodded, channeling his strength into precise, restrained movements. Heat vision severed mechanical control panels, redirecting water flow harmlessly while ensuring the droids were incapacitated. Flash and Martian Manhunter evacuated civilians, as Hal reinforced barriers to prevent any residual flooding. The team's coordination was seamless, but the subtle interference of Force-sensitive operatives remained a constant challenge, creating unpredictable fluctuations that required real-time adjustment. As they advanced deeper into the station, a group of dark side adepts engaged them directly. These individuals wielded telekinetic strikes, psychic disorientation, and dark energy surges that distorted gravity and manipulated metal. Wonder Woman blocked and redirected energy strikes with her bracelets and sword, while Martian Manhunter phased through walls to protect civilians and disrupt enemy attacks from unexpected angles. Superman intercepted debris hurled at critical corridors, while Hal Jordan created moving energy shields to counter unpredictable Force surges. Batman, coordinating from an elevated control room, noted subtle patterns in the dark side's manipulation. They're attempting to force predictable responses, he said, voice tense. Do not act instinctively. anticipate manipulation, not just physical attacks. The confrontation reached a turning point when a massive dark side surge threatened to collapse the station's central reactor. Any misstep could result in catastrophic explosions, risking hundreds of lives. Superman, Wonder Woman, and Hal combined their abilities to stabilize structural points and neutralize the surge. Flash and Martian Manhunter worked tirelessly to evacuate civilians from affected areas. Batman calculated contingencies for every possible outcome, issuing instructions to redirect energy, reinforce walls, and preempt enemy maneuvers. Even as the station was secured, ethical and strategic dilemmas persisted. The Darkseid adepts escaped through ventilation shafts, leaving the League with critical questions. Should they pursue them aggressively, risking civilian safety, or allow them to escape to prevent immediate disaster? Superman's decision was clear. We cannot risk civilian lives for vengeance. They escaped, yes, but the people here are safe. That is our responsibility. Wonder Woman supported the choice. Restraint is our strength. The Force will challenge us, but we must act within our principles. The successful mission solidified the League's reputation among clone units, Republic commanders, and Jedi observers. Yet their interventions had not gone unnoticed by the Separatist leadership. Count Dooku, intrigued by these outsiders, began deploying subtle tactics designed to test both their strength and their moral compass. Palpatine, ever patient, observed the League's actions from Coruscant with a growing sense of amusement. They are formidable, but conscience binds them. How easily that can be exploited, he murmured. Let the game escalate. Every choice they make will reverberate through this galaxy. For the Justice League, the battle was more than a test of strength. It was a lesson in adaptation, coordination, and ethics. They had saved countless lives, neutralized powerful threats, and protected the fragile balance of civilian infrastructure. Yet each victory reinforced a critical truth. In the Star Wars galaxy, power alone was insufficient. Every action carried consequences beyond the immediate battlefield, and restraint could be as decisive as raw strength. As they departed the station, the League reflected on their journey thus far. The Clone Wars were no longer distant news reports or abstract conflicts. They were tangible, immediate, and morally complex. Every life saved carried weight, every action provoked reactions from hidden enemies, and every display of power had unpredictable consequences. The League's integration into galactic affairs was no longer optional. It was inevitable. Jedi, clones, and civilians alike were beginning to rely on their presence, while Separatist and Sith forces recalibrated their strategies to counter these unprecedented threats. In this environment, even beings of unimaginable power discovered the same truth. Adaptation, discipline, and ethical clarity were as vital as any superhuman ability. The Justice League had become a new force in the Clone Wars, walking a fine line between intervention and observation, between moral clarity and pragmatic compromise. The galaxy watched, and the shadows whispered promises of challenges yet to come. The shadows across the galaxy were stirring. Count Dooku, intrigued and wary of these alien interlopers, had begun orchestrating a multi-layered gambit to test the Justice League's abilities, resolve, and moral compass. His plan was not simply to destroy them. Such a direct approach would be futile, but to manipulate events in ways that would force the League to confront the harshest realities of war in the Star Wars galaxy. Intelligence from a clandestine network revealed a separatist operation targeting Coruscant itself, a series of coordinated strikes designed to cripple Republic infrastructure, assassinate key senators sympathetic to the League's efforts, and create a citywide panic. Simultaneously, Dooku deployed a cadre of Sith acolytes to probe the League, subtly manipulating the Force to create moral dilemmas and tactical challenges that would force them to act under duress. The Justice League assembled aboard a stealth frigate in low orbit over Coruscant, the city planets sprawling urban lights shimmering beneath them. Batman studied the holomap with exacting intensity, mapping separatist infiltration points, civilian evacuation routes, and potential sabotage targets. This isn't just a battle, it's a maze of cause and effect. Every move we make will ripple across the city, and the separatists are counting on us to overreact or make errors. We need precision, restraint, and foresight. Superman's jaw tightened. We cannot let civilians die. That is non-negotiable. But the scale of this attack, we'll need to split our focus between immediate threats and preventing long-term consequences. Wonder Woman adjusted her armor, the lasso of truth coiled at her hip. The Separatists will test our ethics as much as our strength. We cannot allow fear or anger to dictate action. Flash vibrated with nervous energy, feeling the invisible tug of the Force as they entered Coruscant's lower levels. It's like running through a hall of mirrors. Every movement feels slightly off. I have to account for distortions in real time or people die. Hal Jordan's constructs shimmered as he projected bridges and energy barriers through crowded urban streets. The Force is strong here. My shields fluctuate constantly. I'll have to focus harder than ever to maintain them, and it will drain me if I overextend. Martian Manhunter, phasing through walls of corporate skyscrapers, scanning for hidden civilians, added, "We're dealing with multiple layers, mechanical threats, political consequences, and metaphysical interference. Our enemies are playing a complex game." The first wave of chaos erupted in Coruscant's industrial sector. Droid squads attempted to sabotage key power conduits, threatening citywide blackouts. Flash zipped through corridors, dismantling bombs and redirecting civilians. Hal erected energy barriers to contain volatile equipment, while Superman used precise heat vision to sever critical circuits without causing cascading explosions. Wonder Woman engaged enemy forces directly, redirecting blaster fire and disarming hostile units with expert precision. Martian Manhunter evacuated civilians from precarious structures and intercepted psychic attacks intended to manipulate Republic officers. Yet the true test emerged in the form of a dark side ambush. A cadre of Sith acolytes had infiltrated the sector, manipulating gravity, launching telekinetic attacks, and creating illusions to provoke panic. They targeted the League not for physical defeat, but to compromise their ethical judgment. One acolyte lifted a heavy support beam over a crowded plaza, forcing Superman to act. If he destroyed it with brute strength, the structure would collapse, harming civilians. If he redirected it carefully, he risked allowing the acolyte to escape and attack elsewhere. Superman paused, calculating all variables. We save lives first. Always. With surgical precision, he lifted the beam and redirected it to a secure area, neutralizing the immediate threat without causing harm. Flash, anticipating secondary attacks, moved civilians to safety at blinding speed, while Wonder Woman incapacitated the acolyte with non-lethal force. Hal stabilized nearby energy conduits, and Martian Manhunter phased through walls to contain collateral damage. Batman, observing remotely via drones, noted that the dark side manipulation had shifted. They're probing for weakness. They want us to act on impulse or moral panic. Don't fall for it. Treat every variable as a tactical problem, not an emotional one. Meanwhile, the Separatist operation escalated. Coordinated strikes targeted multiple sectors, power grids, transit hubs, and key administrative centers. Clone units struggled to respond effectively under the League's intervention, unsure whether to follow direct orders or allow the League to lead. Jedi advisors debated intervention, recognizing the League's capabilities but questioning whether their presence distorted the natural flow of Force-guided strategy. The moral and tactical stakes peaked when an entire residential block faced imminent destruction due to sabotaged energy conduits. The League had to act simultaneously to neutralize the threat, evacuate civilians, and prevent wider systemic collapse. Superman flew into the heart of the danger, diverting lethal energy surges with controlled heat vision. Flash zipped in to evacuate civilians from unstable buildings. Wonder Woman held off droid reinforcements and dark-side operatives threatening the perimeter. Hal extended energy barriers and temporary bridges to reroute collapsing streets, while Martian Manhunter phased civilians into safe zones. Yet the cost of restraint became painfully clear. By saving lives, the League allowed some Separatist units to escape, retreating to strike elsewhere. The Sith acolytes vanished into the shadows, their manipulation of the Force leaving lingering tremors in the minds of bystanders and clone soldiers alike. Every decision saved some, exposed others, and left an indelible mark on the city's psyche. In a quiet moment atop a Coruscant spire, the League regrouped. The skyline glowed with fires, emergency response drones flitted among ruins, and clone units coordinated relief operations. Superman's voice was calm but resolute. We did what we had to. But every action has consequences. The city is saved, but the war is far from over. Wonder Woman nodded. And the moral weight of every decision follows us. The Sith and Separatists will continue testing us, seeking the point where ethics conflict with necessity. Martian Manhunter added, we have proven capable of saving lives without succumbing to manipulation, but our enemies will escalate. Every success invites greater challenges. Batman's expression was grim. We are no longer observers. We are participants. And now, more than ever, we must anticipate the strategic and ethical complexity of every engagement. The game has shifted. The galaxy recognizes us, and every faction will act accordingly. As the sun set over Coruscant, the Justice League understood that this confrontation was the most significant test yet. They had demonstrated moral clarity, tactical precision, and adaptability under extreme duress, yet they also realized the galaxy's scale and the intricacy of its conflicts. The Sith were no longer distant threats, they were active manipulators, using ethical dilemmas as weapons. Separatists, clones, and civilians were all pawns and partners in a galaxy-wide chessboard that the League had only just begun to understand. From the shadows, Count Dooku observed the battle's aftermath with a mixture of intrigue and satisfaction. They have potential, he mused, his voice low and deliberate. But moral restraint can be exploited. Their power is immense, yet their conscience may yet become their undoing. Palpatine, seated deep within the Coruscant Senate chambers, observed the same reports with a calculating grin. Such power, yet constrained by principle. How deliciously inconvenient. They may yet become either my greatest adversaries or my most useful tools. Let us see which path they choose. For the Justice League, this mission crystallized a fundamental truth. In the Star Wars galaxy, raw power was meaningless without moral clarity, adaptation, and strategic foresight. Each victory came with unavoidable consequences, and every decision echoed far beyond the immediate battlefield. The Clone Wars were no longer abstract or distant. They were immediate, morally complex, and infinitely consequential. They had faced their greatest test yet, but they understood that the hardest battles were still to come. Not against sheer strength, but against the manipulations of a galaxy that measured power in subtlety, consequence, and conscience. The Justice League hovered above the mid-rim sector, their eyes scanning the sprawling systems that had become a chessboard of war, politics, and moral consequence. Months of coordinated interventions had transformed the galaxy's perception of these alien heroes. Jedi Masters whispered their names with awe and caution. Clone commanders debated whether to follow their lead or adhere strictly to orders, and civilians, often caught between droid bombardments and the erratic surge of the dark side, saw them as living shields against annihilation. Yet the League knew this reputation was a double-edged sword. Every heroic act drew attention, both from allies who would rely too heavily upon them, and from enemies eager to exploit any momentary lapse. Intel reports indicated that Count Dooku had orchestrated a simultaneous offensive across 3 star systems, combining separatist military might with rogue dark-side cultists exploiting chaos for territorial expansion. Their movements were precise, coordinated, and ruthless. Dooku had carefully analyzed every prior engagement, tailoring this attack to force the League into impossible ethical and tactical dilemmas. The Justice League had faced isolated crises, but nothing prepared them for the full scale of this assault. It was the culmination of months of manipulation, testing their abilities, judgment, and resolve simultaneously. Superman surveyed the main battle zone from orbit above Valtor 9, a planet rich in essential energy resources now targeted for seizure. Droid fleets swarmed orbital platforms, while dark-side operatives induced localized gravity anomalies, destabilizing buildings and forcing clone forces into chaotic retreats. The League divided into tactical squads, their coordination honed by months of shared struggle. Superman and Hal Jordan focused on neutralizing mechanical threats, Hal erecting energy barriers around critical infrastructure, while Superman intercepted destructive projectiles. Flash, vibrating along maintenance conduits and crowded streets, evacuated civilians at speeds that bordered on preternatural, phasing through collapsing structures and redirecting droids into non-lethal containment zones. On the surface, Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter confronted dark-side operatives and cultist militias. Wonder Woman's combat style was surgical. Redirection rather than annihilation, incapacitation rather than execution. Each enemy strike was met with countermeasures that minimized harm to civilians while maintaining tactical dominance. Martian Manhunter's phasing abilities allowed him to extract hostages from hostile zones and intercept psychic manipulations that threatened clone units' coordination. Every member's actions were magnified by the unpredictable influence of the Force, requiring constant adaptation. The first major escalation came when Dooku himself entered the fray, accompanied by 4 elite Sith acolytes. Their arrival was not a simple challenge of strength. It was an intricate psychological and metaphysical trial. Dooku manipulated the Force to induce localized temporal distortions, creating illusory doubles of the League members, forcing them to discern friend from foe instantly. Telekinetic assaults hurled massive debris with surgical intent, aimed to collapse buildings selectively without endangering cultists or droids. Sith illusions conjured moral dilemmas in real time. Civilians appeared endangered in impossible ways, designed to force split-second decisions that could result in either direct harm or delayed strategic consequences. Superman intercepted a collapsing bridge that spanned a critical industrial corridor. Civilians stood trapped below, a droid battalion advancing, and a Sith acolyte directing telekinetic strikes to force Superman into choosing whom to save first. He paused, calculating trajectories and material density, and then acted with surgical precision. He lifted the bridge, redirected it safely, and simultaneously blocked incoming droid fire with focused heat vision. Hal reinforced the area with an energy barrier, preventing secondary collapse, while Flash evacuated civilians from adjacent structures. Wonder Woman neutralized the Sith acolyte with a combination of lasso entrapment and sword strikes, and Martian Manhunter phased civilians to a secure zone as the illusionary duplicates vanished under Dooku's manipulations. Despite their success, Dooku's strategy escalated. He triggered a planetary energy nexus, channeling excess power into the atmosphere to induce widespread electrical storms. The storms threatened to disable communication networks, disrupt clone unit coordination, and destabilize the planet's orbital defense grid. Hal's constructs strained under the fluctuating energy, cracking and reforming as he struggled to maintain shields over critical installations. Superman absorbed lightning strikes, redirecting them safely into non-critical energy conduits, while Flash raced across the landscape to stabilize vulnerable power nodes and evacuate personnel from exposed zones. Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter engaged dark-side operatives exploiting the storm's chaos, their combat a delicate balance between efficiency and preservation. In a pivotal moment, Dooku directly confronted the League atop the energy nexus. The Sith Lord wielded both lightsaber and Force mastery, forcing Superman and Wonder Woman into a confrontation that tested both power and principle. Superman's raw strength and heat vision collided with Dooku's telekinetic manipulation and lightsaber strikes, each parry and block a dance of calculated restraint. Wonder Woman's sword and shield met Sith precision, and her lasso coerced truth and clarity from those manipulated by dark energy. Martian Manhunter and Hal contained surrounding threats, ensuring civilians and clone units remained unharmed while strategic points were secured. Every strike and counterstrike carried weight. The League could have ended Dooku with overwhelming force, but such an approach would risk destabilizing the Nexus and causing catastrophic civilian casualties. Instead, they adapted tactics that relied on coordination, prediction, and ethical foresight. Superman used focus strength to sever Dooku's support structures, without causing explosions. Wonder Woman engaged in controlled combat that neutralized the Sith's advantage without resorting to lethal force. Hal and Martian Manhunter reinforced the environment, redirecting energy surges safely, while Flash mitigated collateral threats with near-instantaneous response. The climax of the battle came when Dooku attempted to channel the planetary energy nexus into a single catastrophic discharge aimed at orbital platforms and civilian sectors. Superman and Hal worked in tandem, Superman using his heat vision to redirect the energy, while Hal constructed energy conduits to safely absorb and disperse it. Wonder Woman subdued Dooku with her lasso, constraining him while Martian Manhunter telekinetically stabilized the surrounding structural collapses. Flash evacuated remaining civilians, threading through the chaos at speeds that defied comprehension. Finally, Dooku's offensive was neutralized. The Sith acolytes were incapacitated or forced into retreat, the energy nexus stabilized, and the separatist forces neutralized. Civilians remained unharmed, clone units regained coordination, and the immediate threat across multiple systems was eliminated. The League had successfully managed the most complex, multidimensional crisis they had faced in the galaxy. Exhausted yet resolute, the League regrouped above the battlefield. Superman's gaze swept the horizon, noting the resilience of civilians, the recovery of clone units, and the containment of separatist forces. "We've saved countless lives," he said, voice heavy but steady. "But the galaxy is far from safe. Every action has consequences, and every intervention changes the course of events beyond our perception." Wonder Woman added, "We have demonstrated that power can be exercised with discipline, ethics, and precision. The Sith and Separatists will adapt, but so must we. The true measure of our strength lies not in victory, but in restraint and foresight." Martian Manhunter's voice was calm, reflective. "We have navigated the harshest tests, simultaneous crises, moral dilemmas, and metaphysical manipulation. We survived, adapted, and acted with clarity. But the galaxy will continue to challenge us in ways we cannot predict. Vigilance will remain essential." Batman, ever the strategist, concluded, "We are no longer visitors. We are participants. The Clone Wars and the galaxy itself now measure our impact. Our legacy is defined not just by victories, but by how we navigate ethics, consequence, and strategy under extreme pressure. Every choice we made has ripple effects, and the galaxy will continue to test us. But we have proven capable of meeting those challenges." From the shadows, Count Dooku and Palpatine observed. Dooku's voice was low and deliberate. "They are formidable, but principle binds them. Let us see if endurance and consequence can break them." Palpatine, his grin tight and calculating, added, "The galaxy is theirs to navigate, but the choices they make will entangle them ever deeper into destiny's web. Every victory is also a seed for future trials." The Justice League had completed their most challenging mission. They had confronted multiple simultaneous crises, neutralized both mechanical and dark side threats, protected countless lives, and adhered to an unwavering ethical standard. Their power had been decisive, but it was their coordination, foresight, and moral clarity that defined the outcome. For the galaxy, they were no longer outsiders. They were a force to be reckoned with, shaping the course of war while remaining true to their principles. As the Justice League lifted from the battlefield, systems recovered, civilians rebuilt, and clone units resumed operations with renewed confidence. Yet even in triumph, the League understood that the galaxy's web of consequence was far from fully unraveled. Separatists would regroup, Sith machinations would persist, and the Force itself would continue to challenge the balance between principle, power, and consequence. In the far reaches of the galaxy, whispers began to circulate. Across mid-rim worlds and core systems alike, tales spread of superhuman protectors who could not be manipulated, whose power was tempered by ethics, and whose actions preserved life without imposing dominion. The galaxy had witnessed a new kind of hero, one capable of influencing the course of war without compromising conscience. And while the Clone Wars would rage on, and the Sith would plot in shadows, the Justice League had secured their place in history as guardians whose decisions resonated far beyond the immediate battlefield. The galaxy had been forever changed. The Justice League, outsiders from another universe, had proven that unimaginable power, when guided by conscience and discipline, could alter the course of the Clone Wars without domination or tyranny. Systems once on the brink of annihilation had been stabilized, civilian lives preserved, and droid armies neutralized not by brute force alone, but through coordination, strategy, and moral clarity. Yet even in victory, the League understood that every choice carried ripples, political consequences, philosophical debates, and unforeseen reactions across the stars. Jedi, clones, and civilians alike regarded them with awe and cautious respect, recognizing that these heroes were neither fully aligned with the Republic nor beholden to any faction. Separatists, Sith, and dark side cults had learned to fear the unpredictable, the combination of power and principle that could not be easily manipulated. For the League, this galaxy was not home, yet they had carved a place within it. They had adapted, survived, and left a legacy defined by restraint, ethics, and action in the face of impossible odds. The Force had tested them in ways beyond anything Earth had demanded, and they had answered with unwavering resolve. Their journey was far from over, but one truth remained undeniable. The galaxy now knew that heroes of extraordinary power could act not as conquerors, but as guardians.